Let's be real. A lot of us are having trouble with 808s and Reason, figuring out how to tune them and getting them to sound like our favorite producers get them to sound. So I'm going to pick 3 random loops and 3 random 808s, and I'm going to show you the perfect settings to get them to work, how you want them to work every time, and then we'll add a little bit of extra sauce on top of that. Alright, so loop cloud over here. Great place to get loops. Alright, cool. I got 4 just as an extra bonus. I realized 2 of them were in the same key, and I don't want to leave y'all hanging with a double key type of thing. Whatever, let's get into it. Here we are again. Alright, cool. So basically what we're gonna do is act like the names of these keys aren't on the loop. Say they weren't there. How do we figure out what we're doing? Okay, so since these are perfect loops, we can just time stretch them by holding down Option on a Mac, Alt on a Windows. I had to check the other computer. So you just hold down that and at the end, and you could drag it out. So click on it, hold it down, drag it out. This one will probably be 4 bars. This one will probably be perfect. And then what you can do from there is change the tempo to whatever you want to. Once I change the tempo, what I'm able to do is keep the pitch intact. So for example, this loop right here, I could change the tempo to 175. And if I wanted to change the pitch, I can do that up here with the transpose options. This little calculation circle might be moving. If it does, then just let it load first. It needs time to process the sample. There's a few different ways that you can have it transpose, and which means change pitch. So there's all around, melody, and vocal. All around usually works for everything. If it's a vocal, you definitely don't want to put it on melody. And if it's a melody, you probably don't want to use vocal. So melody, let's try this on it. Now it's no longer an A minor, so this is obsolete. Now if you know how to count keys on a keyboard, then you probably know what key it is in. If you don't, then I'm going to show you what to do. Alright, let's hear this in all around. So you heard what that sounded like versus what this sounded like in melody. It's a little shakier. So the smoothest type for this would be all around. So I always check that and see what sounds best. Alright, cool. Now I'm going to load up an instance of grain. This is the best sampler in Reason for your 808s. Sampler in Reason for your 808s. Sampler. Okay. Alright. Now, from here, I have the initial patch already. If yours doesn't load with the initial patch, you can right click it, reset device. If you want your patches or your devices to load with the initial preset automatically, you need to do that in your preferences. Or you can hold down the command button and hit comma on a Mac. On a Windows, it's probably control comma. Otherwise, what you're going to do after that is go to general, and then down here it's going to say default song, and then here load default sound in new browsers. I unchecked that because I don't want a default sound. I want an initial preset. So that's how you do that. Alright. Random 808 time. Alright, I finished my favorite list. I threw 3 random 808s in there. One of them isn't so random because I think everybody might have that 808. It's really common. I have it in the free Zaytoven kit on my website somewhere. Right now we're looking at a blank empty grain. It's the initial patch. So now I'm going to drag in an 808, step 1. And it's like doing this oscillating thing. We don't want that at all, right? So what we're gonna do, step 1 again, put this on one shot mode. Then we're gonna come down here and change the algorithm to tape. Now it plays through once. And here we see the samples cut off, so we'll just make sure the entire duration of the sample is selected. I think that's step 4, I lost count already. The next thing we want to do is come down to the ADSR. The ADSR here is going to change the 808 sample based off of how it's set up. It's changing how it originally sounds here. You can hear how the attack is gone. So let's match that. Decay all the way up, sustain all the way up, release all the way up. Alright, another thing you want to make sure you do is over here on key mode, don't keep it on poly, because there's a possibility if you have long 808s, then they'll overlap each other and there'll be all kinds of crazy mud going on in your tracks. Don't do that. So we're going to change this to retrig. And if you want them to slide, you can put the portamento on. And I'll drop a video up in the cards on how to slide anything in Reason. Alright, we're still dealing with some low volume discrepancies. It could just be my headphones really quiet. It is a really low subby 808. But this is the best way to set up your 808 in grain, okay? Now, the last step, or the first step, whatever you prefer to do, really, is to tune it. So we're going to hit the set button right here. It's a little arrow, and it says our key is in G0. That is the key this 808 is in, G0. So now, the pitch I was playing on my keyboard, which is C3, in the middle of my keyboard, isn't the same anymore. So what I can do is drag this up, but make sure I keep it a G. Gonna drag it up to G, maybe G2. So I just moved it up 2 octaves. Let's try G3. Great. I like it right there because it works for me and my keyboard. Now if I navigate to the sequencer, that first melody we had, it was an A minor, but I went up 4 notes. I transposed it. So let's see what it sounds like. Turning off my metronome. Now, if you don't know what key that's in, there's a few ways to figure it out. You can play your 808 at higher notes to see what fits. So we would start maybe at the C note. Let's go up higher and let's listen. This sounds right. Alright, so I kind of got lucky. It was only 4 notes away from C, or 1 note away from C. So I just go all the way through the keys like this. This could work too. But when I listen in low, it doesn't sound good anymore. If you don't like pressing keys and you like investing in yourself, or you have some extra money, I highly recommend you get this plugin I'm going to show you. Alright, these are the two keys it thinks it might be. D flat minor and G flat major. Now the D flat is exactly what I was playing earlier. This plugin will save you tons of time if you're not familiar with knowing how to find the keys of anything. This is the one for you, right? Now what you do after that, if you don't know what D flat minor is, then you can go over here to the players and you grab scales and chords, drag it on top of the 808. Key, D flat minor. Now this is going to make sure you play the right thing every time. So turn chords off or else it'll play 808 chords, and that's not very pleasant sounding. Alright, now let's go ahead and play this. Notice when I play this button, it automatically moves it. When I play this key, it automatically moves it up to the next key. Right? So this is going to help you tons. If you realize things aren't sounding right at some point, then it could be the key your beats are in. Alright, let's go ahead and fly through these next ones. Alright, the next one, it's in E minor. Let's duplicate that over. Command D to duplicate, Control D on the Windows. Alright, now let's choose a different 808. Our settings are already set. We just gotta drag in another 808. Random 808. There we go. Set. Says it's F0, so I'm gonna move it up to like F3 so that it works for me on my keyboard. If you're just drawing it in, don't worry about moving it. You don't have to do that. Just make sure you know where that root key is. That was a hi-hat. Now you'll notice this isn't in the right key, so let's make sure we fix that, find the settings. We figured out what it was here, it's an F. Now we need to figure out what this loop is. So, a couple ways to do that: play and listen through it, or cancel. Use a handy dandy plugin that'll save you a few minutes, or tons of minutes, depending. Alright, another way that you could do this is with the piano. Now it says what the key is here, but let's say it didn't. It says EM, which means E minor. Now that sounds the least dissonant. Dissonant as in weird. That's dissonant. But this one right here is perfect. This one sounds good too. Alright, so E and A sounded the best, and I can explain that to you here in a second. So what we're going to do is change the key here to E minor. These are the keys in E minor, and these are the keys in A minor. One note difference. That's why they both sounded really good. So, gotta use your best judgment with that. In this case, E minor, because it set it here. But once we played this note here, and we knew it was dissonant, we would be able to tell that this wasn't the right one. So if you go through all the keys, it should help you out in figuring out which one is the right one, which scale is right for your melody or your loop. Alright, so we set it to E minor. Now let's hear it. Again, I already set the 808 settings. Let's use this one. Let's change the tempo to like 140 because we can. I don't know who recorded this sample, but I can hear the metronome in the background. Okay, man. Okay, next 808. Hit the set button. F right here. Now let's figure out what key this next sample is in. This is the green one. We'll delete this. And I'll play through it and see what I think it is. D sounds good, of course. That's what it says. Alright, so a lot of keys sounded good with that, I'm not gonna lie. This one sounded good, this one sounded good, this one sounded good, so. But it didn't sound good all the way through. But what do you know? All the keys that sound good are in D minor. Look at this. D minor. Back to that 808. Let's move this up to a comfortable position if you have a MIDI controller. An important note. If your 808 isn't following the melody, it'll still sound weird. So it's really important to try to follow that and listen to it. And that's why we utilize playing up and higher octaves to make sure that it sounds good. You might not be able to hear it all when it's low, but when you play it higher, it makes more sense. Alright, so primarily this key and this key will work. So we'll play off of that. Something like that would work out for you. Okay, last thing I would like to go over. I know this was a pretty dense tutorial, but I want to go over how to make your 808 sound unique. Few options we have here, native to Reason. A variety of options we have that are native to Reason. Gonna go into effects, built-in devices. Some great ones to use off top is gonna be Scream. Pulverizer is even good as a compressor, but let's go over distortion. This fallback distortion is good. And let's also drag in Quartet Course Ensemble. Another free one I would like to throw in is Soft Tube Saturation. It's free as a VST, and it is free as a rack extension, no matter how you would like to use it. Here's my free VST, here's the free rack extension. Let's go with the rack extension. Alright, let's turn these off by bypassing them. Let's start out with Scream. Turn that back on. Alright, let's switch it up a little bit so I can show you these techniques to make your 808 sound unique. Alright, cool. I got this multi-layered loop out of the Spider Demon drum kit. Said it was an F minor. So let's go back to one of the other 808s. Actually, we'll keep this one. Alright, cool. Got a nice 808 there. Alright, here we go. Right now, there's nothing. Then we have Scream, and there's a bunch of different algorithms we could pick. Tube is great. Turn the damage control up. Not too much. Fuzz. Tape is dope. I love tape. Tube and tape are my favorite ones. And of course there's other parameters here that you could work with. I have a video on how to use Scream, by the way, if you want to check that out. You'll love it if you're trying to distort things, because I love distortion. Alright, cool. This one is D11, one of the original racks from Reason 0.8. Dry 808, and with the full back distortion. Do this to taste. You might also want to add a filter to carve some of that full back artifact out. Next we got Quartet. Okay, with Quartet Chorus Ensemble, be very careful. You don't want any phase cancellation, so always check your mix in mono. If you don't know how to do that, I have a video for you. It's up in the cards. Alright, now we don't want this to be completely wet. Let's pull it down. And you can mess with these settings here. It'll just make it wider and sit well in your mix, depending on what kind of track you're making. Just made it spacier there. Alright, then we have soft tube saturation. Keep low, neutral, keep high. 3 settings, 1 knob. Sounds great, right? Go with which one you like best. I usually put it on keep high so that I can hear it more in my headphones that don't have good bass response, meaning I can't hear the bass in the headphones. I turn this up so that I can hear the bass in the headphones. A lot of other people are wearing headphones that don't play bass very well, so this is a good tip. So there you have it. That is the best way to set up your 808s in Reason and use them with your loops. Let me know what you would like to see next. It's all culture, kickback, and cookup.
Till I fuck it up.